And here we are, down in the bottom right-hand corner of Entomb Valley, we have our pink Protoss player using all caps, screaming, good game, good luck, have fun, at his opponent. It is JYP. And the always mattered Zerg player here up in the top left-hand corner. Looks like they're playing on the Korean server now because he's using Xenio's account. That is, in fact, Liquid.Sheth. All right, so Sheth is taking 2 games in a row.
There, huh?
I know. I'm like, ooh.
Didn't Xenio lose?
Just look at the color. It's purple. It's always Sheth. It's always Sheth. Yeah, so we are actually seeing a Protoss for once. Huzzah. It's been our first Protoss in the event so far, and we'll see what JYP wants to bring out here on Entomb Valley. I always like this map because of the destructible rocks, which lead over to the third. It gives you so many different possibilities. But given that he's chosen Entomb Valley, we know this is a popular choice for Protoss against Zerg. What kind of options is he looking at here?
I mean, the most standard way to play Entombed is you take that fast third, and then you gear up for a big 3-base pressure build. And then while you're pressuring, you take your own fourth. Because your pressure, you're just trying to trim their bases and slow down their hive tech. On a map like this where it's so open in the middle, and then, of course, there's a lot of spots where Broodlords can hide and snipe at you. It's much harder to just straight out win the game with those 3-base pushes.
Sure.
But, you know, you put a little pressure and then you take your fourth, and it just buys you time to get that mothership up and try to get some cost-efficient trades to decrease the Zerg bank while you're at it.
Now, we've noticed that a lot of Zerg players lately have been kind of taking that, okay, well, we know you're going to get 3 bases. We're not really going to mess with that. We're going to sit back and we're going to play super passively. We've seen a lot of games in this tournament specifically that have turned into just, I don't want to call them snooze fests, but let's just wait until we get about 6 bases apiece and then we'll start doing things. Yeah.
A lot of Zergs definitely play that way, especially North American Zergs definitely do that. One of the things to know for is what the Zerg's doing besides that. Some Zergs literally just do that, but some Zergs try to be really active with Zergling attacks. Zergling drops have actually started to come in a little bit. It's just a way for the Zerg to trade off minerals and try to keep the Protoss on a defensive while they're both macroing up. Similar to how the Protoss is going to be sending War Prisms and trying to be annoying in that regard. And some really nice Pro Micro coming down by JYP here.
Yeah, I've got to say, very well done there, and he has delayed his opponent quite a bit there.
I mean, his Nexus is halfway done.
Yeah, it's halfway done. It was, and you know, the funny thing too was that you know, Sheth was just kind of sitting back, banking resources for a while, wasn't putting it into drones, was waiting so he could get those Zerglings. So it was almost a perfect time for JYP to pull off because that's exactly when he would have to choose between Zerglings, Queens, and more drones.
Yeah.
All right, so JYP executing his strategy pretty normally, though. Nothing to see here. Move along, move along. Forge, fast, expand up at the front, building in that wall.
Yeah, and even on this map, it's so big, he actually delayed the cannon slightly more than many Protoss do. But it was just to get the Nexus and the gateway up just a little bit faster.
All right, well, that is on the way now. We've been seeing some Protoss players that have been playing around. This has been pretty popular, actually, yesterday when we were watching the Grubby versus Hyun sets, where Hyun did actually 5-0. That Protoss players have been playing around with a little bit slower initial gas and then redoubling and taking their second and third a bit quicker. So I don't know what how much you've seen of that or what that provides, but it was kind of interesting. Led to super quick robos, but without +1. Yeah,
it's definitely a lot of the European Protosses have been trying out a lot of different new gas timings. And so that's mostly coming out of Europe, and it has its advantages, its disadvantages. I think people are still just kind of messing around with the timings, and then they do their little, their robo time. They're like, okay, this is 5 seconds faster and stuff like that. And it all adds up, though. It's all, that's the kind of the science of StarCraft right there,
Yeah.
They'll test around all the builds in your laboratory and try to optimize them just to perfection.
I like that, though. I mean, that sort of approach is very fun to me, but, I can understand just with the tried and true build here from JYP so far. Again, nothing really to see here. I mean, besides the fact that he hasn't invested in +1, he did have the Forge selected for half a second, but I think he was just flying through his hotkeys there for a bit, so nothing out of the ordinary for him. There's third gas and fourth gas.
So he's getting those before any type of, before any robotics or Stargate. Of course, it's typical to get them before Stargate. If people are going to get that really fast robotics, though, that's where they see it. But here we go to Stargate instead. And this is just becoming. Stargate kind of it gets popular, then it loses favor, and it gets popular again. It's one of those builds that's like. It's never a bad option against Zerg. I mean, it's a great way to scout them and then also force a reaction, slow them down just ever so slightly, and then of course you can take a third behind it very easily.
And that's probably what he plans to do, as we do have +1 weapons coming up. We'll probably see a couple more gateways as he eventually decides to put on a bit of pressure here, but hasn't decided to work at those destructible rocks quite yet.
Yeah, I thought that Stalker was about to work on him, then it got distracted by an Overlord. Now it's kind of just hanging out in the corner. Oh, there actually needs a little bit of 2 Stalker pressure. So this is, he ran in with his scout. He noticed there was no speed instead. He's like, okay, maybe I can just be a little bit annoying. Maybe if I get him to build another, 6, 10 Zerglings just from poking at him, then that's, 3 to 5 less drones. So why not?
And as we can see, Sheth is getting everything at about the right time, but maybe just, we've seen some players that have been playing around with, they get their Roach Warren lair, etc., even a little bit later,
and
45.
And speed a little bit faster often, too.
Yeah, exactly. But this go-around, all those structures coming down just a tad earlier just to make sure he stays safe, and there you go. There's the 12 Zerglings you were talking about there, and that's not 6 drones.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's kind of why a lot of Zerglings have been getting speed earlier, is because it seems like you have less economy, but then you're not forced to make so many Zerglings later, because as soon as you have speed, these harass options are just totally shut down. Yeah,
and these Stalkers are going to be able to get away because speed's not going to be done for about another 35 seconds.
Perfect time in that retreat. I mean, a lot of Protoss are tempted to micro round and maybe kill 1 or 2 Zerglings, but he's doing it a little bit now. But if you do that for too long, speed finishes and then your fun's over.
And we see the kind of rock, paper, scissors that we refer to being set up already. There's 4 more gates on the way, but the robotics facility already finished up. So there's a lot of Phoenixes, so he'll put up a lot of Phoenixes. You expect to see a Hydralisk den at some point. We'll switch back into a robotics bay and eventually start putting out Colossi.
Yeah, a lot of Spore Crawlers coming up, so as long as Sheth is keeps his Queens in hold position near the Spore Crawlers, keeps his Overlords in position, he shouldn't take too many losses, but it's going to give, JYP a nice chance to scout him out.
Yeah, and he is doing just that. Looks like they are finally starting to go to work on the destructible rocks, but of course this is coming behind. How many gateways? Okay, so just 5 at the moment.
Yeah. And this is the safer way. Some Protoss try to take that third super fast, right when they're pushing out those 2 Stalkers. But if you're investing in these Phoenixes as well, and you try to do that, sometimes some speedings can run in there and just totally shut down your options. So getting these actually a Twilight Council as well.
Yeah.
This might. Oh, he's still building probes though, so he is planning on taking a third, I believe, just a little bit later. Probably wants to kill those rocks first.
Looks like it. Looks like he's a bit supply blocked as well. 3 pylons hitting at the same time, but was a little more concerned about the harassment he was doing with the Phoenixes up at the front. He did manage to snag a couple of kills. In fact, all of them going to that Phoenix randomly.
It's a greedy Phoenix.
No kidding. Shame. Well, 5 workers have gone down in total. Immortals are, of course, revealed, but
nice of those earning run by.
Yeah, those characteristic run bys. He does love them, and it seems to always work out for him.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely pays itself off.
And he'll do what's going to end up being 28 points of permanent damage to that Immortal, but of course it will recover its shields over time.
So JYP setting up the walls third, going for a blink. And meanwhile, what is Sheth doing? Okay, he's going straight for those Infestors, which is usually the most common play on Entombed. As soon as he can tell JYP is playing more for that third base macro game, you can see the immediate response is to just add in more hatcheries and go for attack. As opposed to building roaches and speedings if he saw something scary.
And we are setting up for that ever so awesome million-hour-long PvZ that we often see on this map. 4th base on the way now for Xenio. I said Xenio because I saw that across the middle. Man, I'm on top of my game today. For Sheth, of course, is what I meant. And he is going to scout out this force moving across the map. That's actually pretty powerful considering how little there is out for Sheth at the moment.
I mean, this is one of those things that Sheth tech layer a tiny bit faster, was a little bit faster in building the Infestation Chamber. If the Infestors come out and find this army, it's all dead. But, while his Passion Gland finishes, he's still got about 20 seconds on those Infestors, so JYP has a chance of actually escaping with this army.
And that hatchery was killed, not canceled, so an additional 225 resources of damage done there.
Push with some of these units, though, which is a little bit questionable. Actually, I like it with the Zealots. They're very expendable. You can see what your opponent's up to. But I love the retreat with other units. I mean, if those sentries were here, those Infestors would just totally destroy them.
Yeah, and JYP sees the Infestors, and as soon as he saw the Infestors pop out, he started retreating with his forces back home. So, yeah, but the Zealots do get a good scout, but like you said, they're a bit expendable, but still not really getting all that much in return.
No.
All right.
Okay, so JYP's response is going for the Colossi, adding in a second Forge, which is a little bit interesting. A lot of Protoss just stay on 1 Forge the whole game. And adding some more Prisms. So he's definitely going to gear up for his giant Colossi army, and then while he's trying to gear up, we're going to see some more Prism harass.
Okay, well, we'll see if he can pull that off. And Sheth does have a fair bit of static defenses at the moment and should be able to react appropriately, but of course he is teching super aggressively at the moment, getting that Spire as well so we can move up into Broodlords as fast as possible.
Yeah, he's getting the Hive. It's at a time where he might have it in time for this classic timing, but it's not. You know, some players have been doing like 11-minute hives, and then they have the Greater Spire finishing round now. And that way they're totally safe for these classic timings. But as it is right now, Sheth's going to have those Broodlords, but I think JYP is going to max out before that Greater Spire comes into play.
Yeah, JYP's in pretty heavy production at the moment. Nice job.
Oh, snagging an Infestor there, and he spreads the Phoenixes, so Fungal's not quite as useful there.
Look at that
control. Is he going to go for a second one?
Well, he actually baits out 2 Fungals as well and gets away with the Phoenix.
5 infested Terrans, wow.
All right.
And that's the important one. That's the Mentor Phoenix that got away.
That's right. He can't die the whole game, so we're going to be paying attention to him. He has to go back and teach future generations of Phoenixes how to play.
That is right. Unfortunately, he doesn't get paid for it because he's not an instructor yet. He's just a mentor.
No, that's right. So it's more of one of those lateral promotions, you know. It's cool in title, but you don't really benefit from it. So that's unfortunate. Well,
it's like being a godfather.
Yeah, exactly. You get the prestige, and that's really what you're looking for, because money doesn't matter. I mean, the Phoenix is not of worldly goods. It's not important. Well, let's see here as the Phoenix is still continuing to just pick off 1 unit at a time, be as annoying as they can.
They're not quite going to kill that Roach,
No. We're just going to let him go.
No. I guess he just wanted to, you know, beat him up a little bit and then tell his friends that they're around.
All right, we'll be coming for you next. All right.
Here's a Zealot Draconian in the main, and where's the Greater Spire? If he can find that Greater Spire while it's morphing and kill it, that is okay, it's in a natural. It'll probably be safe here. Meanwhile, there's another attack going into... Oh, never mind. There's a little bit of attack going into 4th there for a second, but those are just the Phoenixes. They're going to get picked off here.
All of them. All right. So, well, this is actually pretty good. A little bit of harassment being done. It's actually pinning Sheth in. May get a few units caught here as the Stalkers are going to blink up and take advantage of that.
Those Roaches without Infestor support, they're all going to get cut off, and that's big.
And wow, look at that. Even trapping a few more of those. And JYP, I don't even know if he lost a single Stalker there. He did huge amounts of damage.
Yeah, and this whole thing is allowing him to get his army across the map. And one thing about Entombed Valley is the middle is so open, so moving around with this army can be a little bit risky sometimes. If you get stuck by like a full surround from Zerg and the Fungals come down, but if he can get in a position, you know, right in the top right of the map where he's heading right now, that'll deny the Zerg will not be able to get that full surround anymore from this angle. Meanwhile, another little harass, keeping the Zerg off balance, and his army's just in perfect position. Oh,
Fungal Growth does catch this Warp Prism, so he drops down his cargo here, and he's going to try and get the Warp Prism away, but the Infestors on creep were catching up pretty quickly there. At the same time, JYP is just pulling that army out of position. Everything was being sent to deal with the harassment, and now Sheth just loses the 4th outright. He's putting up a couple more hatcheries, but this is a staggeringly large force from JYP.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is an 18-minute Protoss force. That's, you know, a lot of Protosses have these maxes at 15, but this game's been a little bit crazy. This max is hit a little bit later because of the back and forth, but Sheth's Broodlords are not ready in time, which is a real big problem. I mean, he's morphing them just now, but, you know, how much damage is he going to take when they get out? And if he takes too much, you know, if those Broodlords are left on their own, they're not going to take this army, you know, just by their lonesome. In fact, actually, some of them are going to die right here.
Oh, wow. That was actually quite a few of them.
Yeah, two went down, a 3rd actually just went down here, now even a 4th just went down. And I mean, and now he has to push him with the rest of his army, but of course these Colossi and Immortals are not going to let Roaches come through that little choke.
Yeah, this was really well orchestrated by JYP, especially pulling those forces out of position with the Warp Prism. Just worked out so well. Yeah. He's got so many units left over. The Overlords are sitting overhead, but that's basically a jackpot, as a few of those are going to go down, and that is super, super annoying for Sheth to have to deal with. The last thing you want to do in the middle of this is have to produce Overlords.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right now he's got to be on full unit production and losing a lot more Zergnies here. Meanwhile, JYP's got his force set up, the motherships on the way. Is JYP going to go for some of these top right bases? I think JYP's thinking right now, just keep my army alive. I've done a lot of damage. Just don't get us stuck in a bad position. We're going to move around the map more and see if we can take a fight in a better position. Yeah,
I mean, he's almost at the point, too. I mean, he's taking a 5th base. His mothership's about to pop up. He's investing in his infrastructure. He's got Warp Prism speed even coming up. So he's sitting pretty at the moment. Sheth, certainly not out of this game, but even just to transfer drones over to this top right-hand corner would be extremely difficult.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous trek, too, with the Protoss army out here in the middle of the map.
All right, well, JYP continuing to push in, and Sheth trying to gather everything back for one big stand here. Will he be able to hold this? The Colossi actually pretty much all get fungled down at the same time, but there's not enough Infestors there to drop down.
Are just getting absolutely massacred.
Yeah, not able to make their way down the ramp at all, and a 40 supply advantage and growing for JYP at the moment.
There are a lot of infested Terrans go down, so he just retreats, figuring, you know, why bother fighting them? I can just wait them out. And I think Sheth's really just pinned on the defensive, trying to get this, you know, this Broodlord army up. But meanwhile, JYP's mothership's out. that's his ace in the hole. And then once he gets a Vortex, or he can just save it for a recall. So if he gets stuck, he can save his army.
And then he could be a lot more cavalier about running across the map with these Blink Stalkers too, if need be. And he waits until just after the Infested Terrans have all died, continues to blink his way up the ramp, picks off one Broodlord, a second, now a third going to go down as well. And the remaining Broodlords are...
Oh, he's going to warp in right in front of the army.
Oh, man.
And that's the last thing a Brooder wants to see, is a whole bunch of Stalkers warping right underneath it.
Well, looks like that is close to all she wrote. Now, yeah, there it is, actually. GG from Sheth. He falls, and Evil Geniuses has tied things back up through 6 games with only 3 to go. We are all tied up.